In this video, we're going to talk about the 12 red flags that you may find in the woman that you're dating. Now remember, a red flag means no go. It's a mine in a minefield. That's why it's planted with a red flag. That's where the term red flag comes from. So in this video, we're going to talk about 12 red flags that if you see is happening with the woman that you're dating, you're probably going to have to end it with her. All right, the first red flag is she talks badly about her exes. Now think about that. Why would she talk badly about all her exes? They can't all be terrible, but even worse, that means that she's picking these people. She's picking these people over and over and over again. She hasn't either figured it within herself, which is why she has to keep complaining and venting about it, or she's trying to manipulate you to tell you how to not be. And so for a lot of women, what they'll do, at least manipulators, is they'll tell you how to not be by referencing the ex. My ex was really controlling, which means, hey, you better not be controlling. My ex never let me have friends, which means you better let me have friends. When she's doing this, you're going to keep seeing that she's actually training you on how to behave. And so if she's always talking about how bad her exes is, again, remember, she picked these guys. She picked them for a reason. And if she's still complaining about them, she hasn't resolved those issues within her. And at the same time, she's most likely training you how to operate with her. The next red flag is she discards her girlfriends easy. In other words, she might have this girlfriend that was like, she might have been her best friend for years, but all of a sudden she's like, she thinks she's cute, and all of a sudden she's out. And like, how do you just discard somebody that way? How do you just, like, this person's your greatest friend, and then all of a sudden they have this falling out? And so manipulative people tend to have a lot of falling out with people. Why? Because that person either won't submit, or they called them out on something, or they couldn't get them to do what they wanted. So what they're doing is this manipulative game where they're trying to freeze them out. And so if you see this pattern of she keeps having these friends, like this best friend, they're like the most amazing friend ever, and then all of a sudden, like 2-3 months later, they're gone. They're like, I don't like this person anymore. Just realize you're probably dealing with a manipulator. Normal people don't like conflict. And so what they do is they like to agree with each other. They like to try to become friends by being friendly and agreeable and understanding of each other. So if you keep having these falling outs, you keep noticing she has falling outs with all her girlfriends, realize you're probably dealing with a manipulator, and that's a red flag. Another red flag could be she has all guy friends. Now, having all guy friends isn't necessarily a bad thing. We all want to have platonic friends. But if she has all guy friends at the exclusion of her girlfriends, you could be in a situation where what she's doing is getting male attention all the time. Like, she needs a lot of validation. Now, a lot of women have this growing up, you know, when you're 12, 13, 14 years old, you know, you hit puberty, and you want that kind of validation. Guys go through this too. They want the validation from the guys and from women. And so with her, this never really developed where she was able to let some of this go. And so if she has all these guy friends but no girlfriends, typically what this means is the women in her life see what she's doing. She's playing this game where she's trying to get all this attention from all these guys, and they can't have their boyfriends around her. And she'll flirt with them, play these games, play the line, and try to get as much as she can without necessarily doing something, or maybe she will. Maybe she'll try to pull that woman's boyfriend. And they can't bring their guys around, which means that they don't want to be around her at all. And so if you find that she has only guy friends at the exclusion of any girlfriends, this is probably a red flag because she's trying to pull a validation from any guy who will give it from her. Another red flag is she could have an abusive history with her family, or any kind of trauma that happened in her past. You know, if she had this abuse in her family, or maybe her father left when she was really young, or maybe she had a very manipulative and controlling mother. These kind of things are always going to show up in your relationship. We don't want to just throw someone's character away just because they've had some trauma in their past. Everybody's dealing with trauma. You're dealing with trauma. I've had to deal with it. But again, it could be a red flag if this trauma starts to come out and manifest in your relationship in ways where she's trying to control where you're going, what you're doing, who you're talking with, and she's getting very jealous of you, very controlling of what you're doing and where you're going. And now when this happens, we always end up recreating in a relationship the kind of relationship we had with our family. And so she's going to start to see you as the aggressor of her abuse in her past. And so she's going to get jealous of you. She's going to be afraid that you're going to be abandoning her. She'll say you're aggressive, or she's scared of you. And so the problem isn't necessarily you, it's just that she's seeing you through the lens of her history. And so when this happens, she needs to go seek psychiatric help or get a really good coach to help her through those things. If she's blaming you for the way that she feels, just realize that this trauma is coming from her past and you can't necessarily fix it. Another red flag is she's had a lot of short-term relationships and one-night stands. Having a few of these isn't necessarily a bad thing. It all depends on the person and how they're reacting to these things. But usually if they're having a lot of one-night stands and a lot of short-term relationships, it indicates a very controlling person or somebody that doesn't value connection and love as much as maybe you do. And so when you're in this kind of situation with this woman, you're going to find that it's harder to really connect with her. It's going to be hard for her to have this nice attachment with you where she's going to be devoted to you, because she can always say, well, I'll just find another guy. And if she's getting validation through sex instead of through love and connection, then it's going to be very easy for her to just look away and say, hey, I'll just get what I need from somebody else, and hold that over your head. And it also affects the ability for the person to pair bond with you. You know, that feeling of in love with somebody, and then when they break up with you, it's really painful. That's a pair bond. And if she's not pair bonding with you properly, then you're going to never feel like you're really that important to her. You're always going to feel like you're replaceable. And this is a result of somebody having many, many sexual partners. This is the same with guys too. It affects your ability to pair bond with somebody. And it also devalues the act of sex and love and intimacy. Not that we can't have fun and enjoy it, but at the same time, anything that's out of balance is always going to end in a bad result. Another red flag is complaining or mean, rude behavior. In other words, this person seems to always see the negative in life, and they don't really see how that affects and just propagates onto everybody else. You'll see that if she's complaining all the time, you'll find that yourself is going to complain all the time, and so she'll rub off on you in a little bit. And you don't want to be with somebody who's complaining all the time. You need somebody who's going to uplift you, who's going to support you. Always look at the best in you and say, hey, look, where can we go with this life? How can I encourage you? How can I be devoted to you and admire you and adore you? Instead of somebody who's always complaining about things. Because if she's complaining about everything else, you can guarantee she's going to be complaining about you and how you operate in your life. And if she's mean to people, like she's rude to the waiter, you can guarantee she's going to do that to you. Like if you're on a date with somebody, you can expect that on one of the first dates, this is probably going to be the nicest they're going to ever be to you, because they want to give a good impression. If they come off as mean or complaining then, imagine how it's going to be 2 years from now when they don't give a fuck what your opinion is. It can only get worse from here. Now, if you have somebody who's not complaining, you have somebody who's nice to everybody, you can see that this is how they operate internally, and you can expect more of that in the future. When you're with somebody you're really proud of, you want the world to know. And so a big red flag is somebody who just never posts you on social media. And in the relationship, in the beginning of a relationship, maybe this isn't appropriate, but sometime down the road, she's going to want to show you to all her friends. She's going to post you on the internet. She's going to want to show you to her family. She's going to show you off. She's going to be proud of her partner. But if she's not demonstrating that she's proud of you, she doesn't want to show you off, she doesn't want to introduce you to new people, her friends and everybody, you're probably not that high on her priority list. You're probably just some guy that she likes to have around for validation. You're not really the guy for her. And so if you find yourself in this situation, there's no point in trying to say, hey, why don't you do this? There's no point in arguing with her. And so in this situation where she's just not proud of you, she doesn't want to show you off and say great things about you, just know that you're not high on her priority list. You probably should look somewhere else. This one is she expects you to pay. Now, there's nothing wrong with a guy courting a woman and paying for a meal. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're with a woman who expects you to pay all the time and doesn't offer, you're in a situation where you're dealing with entitlement. Just expect more of that in the future. There's a lot of women out there that just expect the man to pay just because he's a man. And so we don't want to be in a situation with a woman where she's just going to expect you to pay for everything all the time. In fact, all the best women that I've dated, including my wife, never let me pay for their way at dinner or anything else. Because she didn't want to feel like I had something over her financially. She didn't want to have me to have that kind of control over her, and rightly so. A lot of guys throw their money around trying to get control over the woman. If he can give her enough favors, he'll feel like she owes him something. And she didn't want to be in that situation. And you should not be in that situation either, where you're trying to use your money to garner favor for her. You should be able to stand in your character as yourself, and she should be able to do the same thing. There should not be any difference in equality in this one. Now, if you want to say, hey, I want to be a gentleman, or whatever thing you want to construct in your head to justify you paying, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to be able to show her that you're generous with your gifts and your money, you can do that as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But in the sense that she becomes entitled and starts expecting it from you is the time you should start shutting it down. When she starts making demands of your time, in other words, where you should be and where you should go and how you should operate with her, realize you're with somebody who wants to be controlling. They want to see how much they can control you so that they can feel safe. And this game of them controlling you so they can feel safe never ends. Then what you're going to demonstrate to her is that she can manipulate you, which demonstrates that you're weak, which means that she's with a weak man, and weak men are not safe. No woman should make demands on your time. If you have children or something like that, then yeah, you've got to come into an agreement on how you should operate. But when you're dating, no, not at all. Absolutely not. If she is, and then she complains about it and then starts guilting you and shaming you about it, you're with a manipulator and you should end it immediately. If she makes demands on how you operate in your life, then she's obviously not the one for you. Because you should be the one who makes demands on how you operate. You should be the one who dictates how you should live your life. And you should live your life the way you see fit, not the way she should. And you shouldn't allow her to do this. If she tries to make demands on how you operate, usually it's about safety, or she wants to control you, or she wants to feel superior than you. And any woman that feels superior than you is never going to respect you. Again, she's going to see you as weak. And if she sees you as weak, she's not going to see you as safe or powerful, which means she's not going to see you as sexy either. This is why guys who are more rebellious and disagreeable tend to get more women, because they live their life on their terms, not hers. Even if it's a reasonable request, he's going to go back and say, hey, does this actually make sense for me? And then I'm going to do what I want to do. So if a woman starts making demands on how you operate and what you're doing all the time, then you probably need to end it immediately. If your woman is overly emotional with no sense of rationality, you could probably be with somebody who has no introspection. And that means that they just want to fly off the handle and then blame the world for it. And so if she's way too emotional with things, it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be totally emotional. Like, my wife is very emotional, but one thing she doesn't do is she's not shameful. She doesn't engage in toxic behavior. She can be emotional, she can be angry, she can yell, she can scream, whatever, but it can't be directed in a toxic way. She can't blame, shame, or guilt me or try to intimidate me. It's not going to fly, and neither should it fly in your life. So your woman can get upset, and that's totally fine. She's entitled to her emotions, and you can help her facilitate that. In other videos, I talk about how to help her facilitate her own healing and dealing with her own emotions and be led out of that situation. But if she starts directing it at you, she starts admonishing you and beating you up for it, when there's really no cause for it, then yeah, you probably need to end the relationship immediately. And that leads us to our last one, no accountability. I can't tell you how many guys I have coached who have been with women who take absolutely no accountability for anything, which is unfortunate because he gives her a free ride. In other words, she can guilt, shame, manipulate him all she wants. She can spend his money without his knowledge. She can pull money out of his bank account, out of his business, and spend it on some vacation or something, or take it all and leave him, and then there's no accountability for it. In fact, she'll guilt and shame him and deflect as much as possible so she doesn't have to take accountability. And this is what happens when guys be in a relationship over the long term, and he keeps allowing this to happen, because the more he allows it to happen, the more it's going to grow. And the more it grows, the worse you're going to have to deal with it. And at that point, you can't blame her, because you made your bed and you're going to have to lie in it at this point. But you can make the turn. You can make the turn to say, hey, I'm not going to allow people in my life who are not accountable to themselves. And so if you're with a woman who just won't take accountability at all, probably need to end a relationship immediately. So in this video, we talked about the 12 red flags that if you find out that your woman is having these, you probably need to end a relationship immediately. Now, I'm not saying it can't be fixed. I'm not saying that you can't get around them in some form or fashion, but why would you do that when you could date somebody else who doesn't have these red flags? And yeah, you could say everybody has problems, everybody has traumas, but you know what? Yes, they do, but that doesn't mean you have to deal with it. That doesn't mean you have to invite that into your life. And you should not stand and tolerate it at all. So if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more.